All right. Hello, everyone. It's been a few days since I've been back online, and I wanted to show you another project I'm doing. Uh, this is some of my dripper supplies that I have. The controller is currently unplugged and disconnected because I needed a piece of seal tight to finish another project in the basement. And so what I have is I've got seal tight 1/2 inch that'll connect up here and then run through that hole into this box here, and everything can be hooked back up. What I've been working on outside is redoing all the dripper piping, and we've just planted some seeds. We're going to put plants in here in another month, but we went ahead and threw some seeds and some garlic and onion over in the other garden. I'll take you out there and I'll show you around what we're doing here. So everything's getting greener, and the grass is getting a little longer. We also have some fencing out here that I have got to make a fence across here. The wife, she wants a barrier to try to keep the rabbits out, because the rabbits will get into the garden here. So anyway, if you're looking along the other side there, you can see the plumbing. That's the main manifold pipe, and then I'll have drippers. I think I've got 5 for each side that come off that manifold. Currently that manifold there doesn't have any holes in it. This is brand new. But what I did is I reconnected the pipe to sit up off the garden bed a little bit, so it's nice and even all the way across. The other hooks that I had were kind of a bad idea the way they had there. So what I've got is I've got a just an an eyelet screw with a piece of a wire tie across there to hold it in place. And then where it has to go higher, I just raise the screw up to raise the whole pipe up. So it's kind of a nice way of doing it, because I can adjust the height and keep it nice and neat all the way across. So that's what I did over here. So anyway, you can see the two moisture sensors in the garden bed. And so what they do is they measure the moisture and then turn on the system, which is the 2 valves are down here in the valve box. And then over here, I had wiring that went right into the ground, but a few years ago I redid everything. And now it goes through the pipe. Pipe's got drain holes cut in the bottom of it, and it goes down here over to the valve box. The water from the house gets split into 2 pipes, and then that provides pressure to the 2 valves. So right now I've got the garden beds are programmed so that one garden bed will water one day, then the other garden bed will water the other day. And that relieves a lot of strain on the valves, because when I first put this in 2016, I had it where it would come on everything. If it called for water, it would just come on. I mean, the system turns on it when the sun goes down, and I water at night. But having both valves trying to come on at the same time, even though the transformer that fed power to the valves was sized correctly, it still seemed to have some kind of problem, and I would get intermittent problems with valves either not coming on all the way, or they would come on and then not shut off properly. And to fix that problem, all I had to do was just rewrite the software to have it turn one bed on, and then turn the other one on the next day. And so it just alternates back and forth between the 2 garden beds. And if we get really dry, I can go in in the garage with a flashlight. I could flag the photo eye and trick the system into thinking it's another day, so it'll toggle back. And I could do that after several hours, or I could just come out and water by hand. Either way, but I usually what I do is I just go in and I'll flash the flashlight into the light sensor, and then the light sensor will shut the system off because it doesn't run during the day. And then what it does is it comes on at night and monitors the water level in the garden bed, and then turns on the valve if it needs water. So yeah, just turning on a light on the sensor, I can trick it into thinking that it's a new day, that you remove the light after a few cycles, and then the system will turn the other side on, and then the other side will water. So I've done that in the past. I've actually come out here with the water. I do have another hose here that I can just turn on, and I'll turn on and just manually water the other side. But usually it's not that dry. Uh, Last year everything worked real good. The thing you have to remember though is the moisture sensor is sensing moisture into a certain depth. So the farther you push it in, the more it can sense what's actually in the garden bed. Um, when the drippers are in here, I have to keep the moisture sensor at least at a minimum 6 inches away from the water so that it doesn't just shut off. And then the garden bed not getting enough water. So I keep the sensor away from. Usually, I keep it away about a foot to 2 feet away from the nearest dripper, so that way uh, the garden bed can water. So even though you will look at it and we'll see like these areas where the drippers have been running, and it'll look like the garden is not getting enough water. But if you dig down underneath, just with your hand, you can feel that that moisture on the surface, it might not look like it's spread out, but underneath it has. And so yeah, just the big thing is making sure your sensor isn't too close to any individual dripper. All right, well, that's it for today. Um, I'll get back with you when I start putting all that together. And this is a wrap up, and hope to see you again. Bye. All right, before I waste any more time, I'm going to go see if this is going to work. Uh, I'm putting up a barrier for the rabbits. So we'll see. I'll be right back. It looks like it'll work. So I'm going to cut a few more. Then we could go out and take a look at it. right, let's take a walk. So here's the first stake. We'll flip this up. All right, here's the third block. I've got to get another screw for it. There's the second one. Okay, this is what I've got done so far. Uh, put fencing up over here, kind of custom made netting there that I'll just push down real far. That should keep the rabbits out. That's pretty secure. And then all along there, what I'm going to do is backfill it with stone. So here's what I did on the other side. You can see the blocks that I pounded into the ground. And I might have to bend them screws down to just prevent anyone from getting scratched up on them. But I really don't want to do that. I think maybe I'll grind them off or cut them because in the event I have to take this down, I want that to be easy to get out. Just loop it around. So one more little project checked off. And just down here, you got a gap here. So we always had problems with the rabbits getting into the garden. So this will be, I'll backfill this with stone and that should fix it. I don't think they like trying to dig underneath stone. So dirt would be another story, but I think stone will keep them out. All right. I'm putting in the stone along the front of the barrier now. Actually, it's done. And I got one more bag to put over here on the back. Then I'll have to get 5 more. I just wanted to start out with 6 bags just to see where I would be. Looks like 5 bags will finish it. All right. Okay, here's the final product. I decided to take it outside that hole, so I'm going to cover that hole with a piece of metal. And I did take the seal tight off, and I cut about an inch off of it. It was a little bit too long. So that's the final product right there. We've got this all in 1/2 inch now, which looks a lot better. Now I wanted to explain this controller box a little bit here for you. I've got a diagram on my website, thingsprogrammed.blog, and it shows how to wire this thing up. So the power comes in through this 5-amp breaker, and yes, I do have the power off right now. And then it's distributed through this distribution block over to the 20-volt transformer, 20 volts AC. Here's the light sensor, which comes in and actually gets attached to the Arduino. And what the Arduino does is it looks for nighttime conditions and will turn on these two relays here. These relays will power up these two Vegatronic boards right here and over here. And then power from the moisture sensors is derived from this board right here. And then this board, you can adjust how much moisture you want in each bed by adjusting this small black knob right there. I've got another distribution block here. This is just for the valves, the incoming valves and the moisture sensors. They all come in on this block here. So it's pretty easy to take care of. I had this board go out last year and I had to replace it. And I didn't really know what was wrong with it, so I did have a spare Arduino board. And so what I did is I loaded the program onto that board. I removed the light sensor and hooked it up just to make sure it was still working. Turned out this board had shorted out and was acting really weird. Sometimes the valves would come on, sometimes they wouldn't. It was just acting really weird. These boards cost about $35 from Vegatronic, and the moisture sensor that you saw earlier outside, those are about $35 also. But the good thing is I've only had to replace one of those since 2016. So in 11 years, I had to replace one. And I wasn't really 100% sure it was bad, but I replaced it and the problem went away and never came back. So I did suspect it was bad. This feeds power to these boards here. These boards work on 9 volts, 9 volts DC. This is just a phone charger that I ran power down to these guys. This relay here has the voltage coming from the 20 volts AC, and then that turns on your power for your valve, your water valve. Arduino, all it does is it just looks for nighttime conditions and then turns on, and then it sets a flag that says, hey, I've been on this other garden bed was turned on yesterday, so now it knows to turn the opposite one on. So when the opposite one gets turned on and the flag is set, then everything resets and it goes back and just does that same thing over and over again. This is just a 120 volt outlet. We're drawing 5 volts here. That goes into the Arduino. And that's pretty much it, really. If you want the drawings on how to put something like this together and the program, just go to my website and I have that all available up there. All right. Another project in the books. Bye.